Today we're going to talk about self. And so often we put ourselves last and put everyone else first. And so I want to share some tips and tricks on how you can be your best self to be able to be the best for everyone else. You know, I love the Wheel of Life, and it teaches me to be a very well-balanced person. Many years ago, I believe you've heard this story. I was doing the Wheel of Life at a conference, and I'm sitting at a table. There's probably about 12 of us sitting at this table. And I'm scoring each aspect, all 7 aspects, and average in a lot of areas, some good, some bad. And I got to self, and I remember I circled a 1. And the gentleman sitting next to me literally pointed at my book, touched my book, and was like, you gave yourself a 1. And I'm closing the book as I'm saying, well, this is just my season of life, right? And we ebb and flow in season of life. And fast forward a couple hours later, I walked into a room. Little did I know that the gentleman was leading this class, and he's also the owner of the program of this conference that we're at. And as I walk in, there's about a room of 100 people. And he stops me and he's like, Allie, you guys, she gave herself a 1. Like, she scored herself a 1. Can you believe it? And I knew in that moment, I was so mortified. Like, I was so embarrassed and so mortified. One, that I let myself get to a space where a 1 is the worst, right? 10 is the best. And that I was in that season of life, but I also knew I had to get myself out of it, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we give the best of ourselves to everyone else and the rest of ourselves to our family, our friends, and us. And so I feel like self is probably one of the most underrated things.
I agree. And Allie, being a massive overachiever in most things, is you're hardest on yourself, right?
Yeah. It's true. I think that a lot of us are. We put ourselves last. We give the best of ourselves to everyone else. And the only way you can be the best to everyone else is if you take care of yourself. You said something about an owner's manual, and I can't remember the concept.
Yeah, I heard this at, it was business planning, and Cody Touche actually brought it up, and he said he has an owner's manual for himself. And the concept is, and this resonated with me because it totally makes sense. It's like, what are you doing on a daily, you know, that when you're at your best self? So it could be something, it might be, I wake up, I practice gratitude. You know, I actually write it down. I go on a walk, I'm working out, I go on a walk, I'm eating this, so it's like, it's taking, I mean, a lot of people just don't have something that they even realize, like, wow, but like, I slept really well last night. What happened? Like, how did this work out well? You know, I'm connected well with my friends and family, like whatever it might be. And it's actually tracking that and going, you know, oftentimes it's like, I need to do this to be highest functioning.
Yeah. I love that concept of an owner's manual.
Yeah.
It sounds prettier than self when you talk about it. Morning routine. I love a morning routine. I like to talk about morning routines. If you were to live your best life and be your best self, what would your morning routine look like? Yeah.
Mine would look like, I would, if this is an ideal world, I have all the time in the world and I get to choose everything that I do. I don't have a single kid that wakes up and, you know, needs toast or whatever it might be. So it would be, you know, I get to wake up. You've got me drinking the Element, which honestly, just, I don't know if it's just drinking water.
If it's just
it's like, wow, I'm drinking a whole bunch of water before I just started in on the coffee because I love coffee. So I would drink the Element. I would get to drink my coffee in peace and quiet. I would do a cold plunge, which, you know, like, I haven't met a single person that's done a cold plunge that didn't feel great after they did it. Go in the sauna, I would get to do them both. Before you really jump into your crazy day, like if you could do that, it'd be incredible. That's part of it, of course. And it keeps going, it could be getting some exercise, getting your heart rate up, but like starting the morning, if I can just start with, drinking my water and then having a cup of coffee in peace and quiet, it kind of sets everything off on a positive note for me.
Yeah. No, I absolutely,
How about you?
I agree.
I mean, what's yours?
Mine's ever changing. That's the thing is I think as humans, we're always evolving.
Yeah. I think having that owner's manual is huge. That's why you can go back and go, like, it's almost I felt good by doing this.
You buy a different car, right? We have one car, then we move to a different car, and it's a different owner's manual for each car. Yeah. And in life, we're always evolving and changing of who we are. And so in this season, my morning routine, ideally up before 6 and quiet house, right? So that I can be in my head. And we know my new habit. I like my sourdough starter. So I currently have 5 of them on the counter and I'm literally feeding sourdough starter. And so it keeps it so I'm not on technology. Cause that's what I used to start with technology first thing. But when I walk upstairs, I'm drinking my element. I'm working with my hands with the sourdough starter for almost 20 minutes. And then at that point, I will drink a cup of coffee. I'll do gratitude. And we overcomplicate a lot of the morning routines or a lot of the gratitude. And for me, it's just like 1 thing to 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it could be, I woke up this morning and I'm breathing, like something so simple, or my family or my friends, or that I get to go on this trip or this house or the view, or, you can think of something and it can be so simple. And then if I can exercise with a podcast, I like to multitask, but if I can get outside, fresh air, exercise with the podcast, like I've crushed it. I crushed my day. Yeah. It started off amazing. And I'm a way better human.
Totally.
At that point.
Yeah. And you feel better. And so that's also, I feel like with self, people are, when you go do that wheel of life and you rank yourself, it's like, well, what do I need? Like, what do I need to do to increase my score? Sometimes the biggest things that I've done is like, what do I not need to do?
Yeah.
And it was like, for me, it was just, I turned off the news a few years ago and I just don't watch the news.
Yes.
And the only thing it's done is given me, a better life,
peace of mind.
Yeah.
So I did that with my social media. I went through and I muted if it wasn't serving me daily, where it's making me a better mom, a better employee, a better leader, right? Yeah. Just a better person overall. I muted it, and having so much muted, and I can only see a small amount of things that's pouring into me. It's huge, right?
Getting that positive input versus the negative.
Yeah. I want to talk about 2 things. I want to talk about the sauna cold plunge really quick, and then I want to go into mindset. Sauna cold plunge, you got me hooked on the sauna because you insisted that we get a sauna.
Yeah.
Why?
So I had...
I just like to be warm.
Yeah.
So to me, I think.
Yeah, you'd love that. It was just the health benefits I saw, being on podcasts and social media, and you see the benefits from the sauna. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, to me, when I saw some of the scientific data of the benefits of it, I'm like, why would you not be doing this?
Yep.
Because it's not hard. You get into it and you sit there.
Yeah.
And you're getting health benefits out of it. Like, come on, it doesn't get any easier than that. You don't even have to work out. Like you're getting a health benefit from it. So that's why I insisted on getting the sauna.
And then cold plunging is like our newfound hobby, where we've been cold plunging in Lake Washington. Yeah. I think we're inspiring people off that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because we'll be down at the lake.
Right.
And we've had people video us, take photos of us because they think we've lost our minds.
So many people have said, like, I've wanted to try that.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, okay, then go do it.
Yeah. It's so true. I will say that's the one. And I don't know health benefits. It will say it. I think it's like a mental thing for me, is that I've done something really hard, like sitting in 38-degree weather or 38. It is 38. It's sleeting in the winter in Lake Washington. Yeah. And I'm in the lake and the waves are literally like pulling me. But it's something hard that I've overcome in my day. To me, that's huge.
Yeah. You start with that and then it makes the rest of the day
so much easier. Absolutely. Yeah. So I appreciate you for the sauna and cold plunge and getting me on this journey and all of the podcasts we've listened to. Mindset. And you talked about like turning off the news, and I'm talking about muting stories, right?
Yeah.
What would you say? I think you have the best mindset, and you can see the good in so much, and you can push out, I'll dwell. But what are your tactics? Like how do you have such a healthy mindset? Is there practice that you do? Like what would you?
Well, and that's something where, it's like everything, it ebbs and flows. And I found myself in a space where it was like, hey, I heard that doing gratitude is really good. And it feels like, really, I need to write down 3 things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so I just said, I'm going to try this. And I found myself actually going like, I couldn't think of 3 things that I'm grateful for. Well, if you look at our life, like, are you kidding me? Like, we have the most blessed life you could imagine, right? And so it was changing that perspective of like, man, there's so much to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And then it was realizing, and I found this through like cutting out the news, like if you don't, like, negativity is like pervasive, right? It's in everything. And you find that, go into a social media thread and look at the comments that people have. Like, look at our comments. People will say things and you're just like, what? Like, what? I mean, so it's easy to get that negative feedback. And, so you have to pursue the positive.
Yeah.
And so, and it's not hard to do. And part of that could just be cutting out, the negative things. And then I think it's perspective. It's ultimately perspective. And, take a look back, and you were the one that brought this up to me fairly recently, even where it's like, think about yourself 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, what is your goal? Like, even if you're not where you want to be in life, I mean, you have to have perspective and go, okay, well, I'm here. I'm in the game, so to speak. You're not dead.
Yeah.
So, going, okay, I have control of, what makes me happy, and I have control of what I consume, whether that's food, like, what do you eat? It makes you feel terrible. I feel like it's no different with who you put yourself around, what social media you're following, what news outlets you're listening to. Yeah. Like, I mean, you have control of what you
allow in.
Absolutely. And to me, and perspective. And I learned this from my dad. And he said, we were talking about something, and it's like, a lot of people fall into this trap where it's like, well, now I've got this big house. Now I want to get this big house. And then it's like, it's never ending. Right. And, he said, I started in a trailer, in a mobile home. I could end in a mobile home. Yeah. Like, he's got a couple homes. He's, healthy,
beautiful life.
Yeah. Great life. Right. But it's not about any of those items. It's literally that mindset.
It is completely. When I think about the mindset, and you were talking about like what you let in, we talked about this last night. We were driving, and it was the food that you consume, if it makes you feel good or it makes you feel bad. And for everyone, it's different. And there's no recipe that's the same for every single person. That's what makes the world go round, is we're all unique. But what you fuel yourself with. So for me, when I think of what makes me my best self, it's what I allow in. So what I watch on TV or don't watch. We don't really watch TV unless it's Coco Melon or a child show. But it's the podcasts I'm listening to. It's the books that I'm reading, right? And if I could have anyone just pause, if you are a 1 today, if you went and scored yourself and you're a 1, write out like what you don't like right now about self. And it could be you don't have time for yourself. It could be you don't like your weight. You don't like your body fat. You don't like your mindset. You're depressed, like whatever that is. And now write 1 year from now, what does your ideal self look like? And get so granular, like so granular. I practice meditation every single morning, right? I work out 4 times a week, 30 minutes, you break it all down. My diet consists of X. And if you could write this out, and it needs to stare at you, Like you don't just write it out and tuck it away, but you write it out, have it be your screensaver of your computer or your phone, that if that is your lowest area, how can you be your best self? And then you schedule your time with yourself. So you're truly time blocking it, the master of your calendar, right? If someone else is good enough to take time on your calendar, why isn't the person that you talk to the most in the whole world good enough to take time on your calendar? And I think we lose sight of that often.
Yeah.
I learned a concept, and I want to ask you what yours looks like, or your ideal, because sometimes with 4 kids, we let things not always go, but it's bookending your day, right? Everyone talks about morning routine. So you have this morning routine and it's so dialed in.
Right.
But what does like the bookend of the end of your day look like? And I'm curious if you're ideal, if you could live that life every day, what would your bookend look like?
Yeah. That same thing. I mean, it's changing, right? And, what exactly does it look like? So it would be, once all the chaos settles down, get the kids to bed, and they're like so happy they just jump in bed, no arguing. It's great.
I don't know if that will happen ever.
And they just fall asleep right away. So it would be, because the reality is I don't get to go in the sauna in the morning very often, ever. So it would be, going in the sauna. One of the great things about the sauna is I generally don't bring my phone in there.
Yep.
So I just like think, I get to turn everything off and think and sit in the sauna. And then I would get to go to bed and I would read a book. That would be ideal.
Okay. Good to
and go to bed by 10.
Yeah. You're late. You're a party animal.
I know.
I'm an 8:30 bedtime person. So, but I think the bookend is huge.
What's yours?
Well, I believe in, I come home and we bring work home so often, and it's taking that cell phone and putting that cell phone in a basket in a way, because it's so important to be present. So having all technology off, we eat dinner as a family, do something together. If it's, even if it's schoolwork, just being together as a family. And then after the kids go to bed, I'm sauna. I like the sauna. Reading a book in the sauna is huge for me. And no technology in there. And it just kind of unwinds you for the day. So that's when I would use that. Maybe a little stretching, because when you get old, you have to stretch. So
what is your why? I mean, I feel like with self, sorry to cut you off, but I feel like with self, oftentimes people, you don't know, you're just there, right?
Absolutely.
Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you in this rat race?
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned through different journeys and programs, and everyone said, create your why. And I couldn't do it. Like I could not put it on paper, and I would sit so often. I went to a room, there was probably 100 of us in it. And we're talking about mortgages, right? And they started off and they said, okay, everyone sit down, grab a piece of paper and a pen. And you died. Today is your eulogy, write it. And I was like, okay. So I write, she was kind, she was nice. And my pen stopped and I couldn't get it to keep writing. Like, people could say 2 things about me. And I realized then, I think this was like correlates with, back when I scored myself a 1. And then they said, okay, share around the table. Now pretend you could be anything you wanted to be. And I want you to write your eulogy. I want you to write, like, what does it look like? Like, who's there? Where's it at? What are they saying? And that was probably the best thing to like teach me how to create my why, was going through, and I literally could write, and I knew where it would be. And I wanted the room packed, like everyone that I encountered and met along the way. And it would be fun, right? It wouldn't be sad. It would be fun, but people could tell stories on the impact that I made, if it was financially, personally, as a mom, as a friend, as a leader, right? They could tell these stories that there was one nugget that Allie gave me in this crazy rat race of life that brought joy to my life, brought happiness to my life, made me feel better as a human. And that was my why. Teaching me to look at the very end. And when I do like this highlight reel of my life, what did that all encompass? And that gave me my why. And it was really like, I actually wrote it out, finally was able to write out a true mission statement. And everything I do and everything I say yes to, I keep my mission statement next to my calendar on my computer. And when I look at any activity I have, do I say yes to those activities? Well, does it align with my mission statement? And if it aligns, the answer is yes. And that was huge. That was absolutely huge. But for me, it's, I truly just want to bring joy, like joy and happiness to people's lives, because I've been at a 1 before. And I don't want people to live in a 1 for their whole life.
Yeah.
So I think hobbies are huge. And when we're thinking about ourselves, right? And if you can go, and I've done this before where I've like listed my hobbies, and as being a married working person without children, and then being a married working mom of 4, you evolve. And thinking of hobbies, because I think so often we enjoy doing something, but we don't consider it our hobby.
Yeah.
So if you like cooking, that's a hobby. If you like reading, that's a hobby. If you like social media, that can absolutely be a hobby. It's what you do with it, right? And be strategic about it. Running, working out, like for you, hobbies, right? You don't get to do them every single day. Yeah. But I mean, what are your, if I were to say, Chris, what are your hobbies? What would you say?
I mean, honestly, my hobbies they would revolve around our kids.
Yep.
Which, and I think that for women, I see this a lot where, like with self, they lose a sense of themselves altogether because they're so good at, they're always giving, and it's like you put everybody first. So, for me, it's like, I have my hobbies, and, it's reading, it could be as simple as cold plunging in sauna. And it's like, I loved fishing, but I just like watching my kids fish now.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
I mean, Georgia's summer goal is to catch a fish this big.
Exactly. But I mean, there's other hobbies like golf, right? I mean, it's like, I don't love golf, frankly, but it gives me something to do, and I can go do it. I go with my brother-in-laws, and I get to go on a trip, or, with one of my best friends, I get to go in a golf tournament. I'm horrible at golf, but it's just, getting out and doing something, with other people. To me, that's what like my actual hobbies I would consider are.
Yeah. I think it's with your hobby, right? If I can encourage people to sit down and write what brings them joy, what brings them happiness, just write all the things. If you could list family, you could list your spouse, you could list kids, you could by yourself, water, vacations, whatever that may be, that's your hobby.
Yeah.
That's something that you love, you're passionate about, and taking the time to do it. If you can make a list of it, right? You can make a list of things, find 4 things and calendar it out for the year, 4 things, go and do it. So if you can have some time in your life doing the things that bring you the most joy and happiness, this is what we neglect. Instead, we live to a calendar of, I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I make dinner, I go grocery shopping, and then maybe on the weekend, I might go to a sporting event, right? I might have a happy hour. And we do that over and over and over again. Yeah.
And there's such a, the hustle culture and like the being disciplined, like, like, that's great. Of course, it's super important, but it's also like, what do you do to take a break? Like what makes you happy?
Yeah.
I mean, people neglect that.
Absolutely. So going into it, I look at self. It's the number one most important thing. The person you spend the most time with is right here in your head.
Yeah. Totally.
And what we say to ourselves, would we ever say it to someone else?
Yeah.
How we spend our time, and we watch ourselves spend our time doing things, and you watched a friend do that, you'd intervene.
Yeah.
So often, right? And so I think we need to stop and pause and really take note of how we're spending times with ourselves. What are we doing activities? Like, what does that look like if it's by yourself or joining in with other people? And it's okay to evolve and change. And if you can't find your hobby, it's all right. Go write it out and list what makes you happy. And that will bring joy.